And then Sarah is the prophet. How many have got a prophet in your family? It's black and white. And that young woman's going to be a mighty, mighty prophetess of the Lord. And she's got a heart too. And God's just putting a bit of compassion in there. How many know prophets need a little bit of compassion? So I've got 2 roses. We got no, he's not a thorn. Next photograph. The 3 surfers. So I was brought up in New Zealand and used to surf a place called Raglan. My mother reckoned I was married to my surfboard, and I surfed a place called Indicators. And this is one of the longest left-hand breaks we have in New Zealand. Another place called Shipwreck Bay, Ahipara, and we also have a place called Mahia Peninsula. But we don't tell you all those places, do we? So I used to surf, and I loved my surfing. In the late 70s, I saw a movie called Endless Summer. It shows some Californians surfing around the world, and so I thought, that's me. I'm out of here, mate. I hate winter. And so I took off. In those years, I was the last person to leave New Zealand, turn the lights out, and so Pastor Phil came over here. And we went and surfed all through Australia, up through Indonesia, Sri Lanka, South Africa, Mauritius, Reunion Island, and I just thought it was fabulous. I just sailed on a schooner through the Indian Ocean. We saw whales and dolphins and just amazing stuff. I loved what I was seeing. I loved the outdoor. I loved the extreme sport, and I just loved to meet different people and different cultures. And in 1982, after 2 years of travelling, look at the next photograph, I came back to this beautiful island called Mauritius, and I was living in a small fishing village called Tamarin Bay. Get the next photograph. It had a good left-hand reef break on it. And you get barreled on takeoff, and there were 3 tube sections in the way for the 3 surfers that are here. Next photo. I live with a local Creole fisherman. This is Simonette. And Simon was a Rastafarian. He said, "Don't worry, man, be happy." Smoke more hashish. You know what I mean? And so those are the years, and we're pulling as many chillums and bongs as possible. So we had enough hand-rubbed cashmere hashish and some Durban poisons. We blew the local Rastas' lights out, so we were part of the family. So no, and we would watch as many Cheech and Chong movies as they had, so we were living with them. And the next photograph, and Simon taught me how to night dive, and I loved diving. I loved the ocean. I watched every Jacques Cousteau program on TV. I'd wanted to become a marine biologist, but after seeing it had to take 6 or 7 years advanced, I thought, flag it, so I went farming. And so I'd dive whenever I had a spare chance. And as a surfer, how many know the surf goes flat? It's one of those issues. And so you've got to do something else. You either windsurf or you dive. So I was diving at night with my local Creole friends in a place called Rivière Noire, Black River. We were looking for crayfish and for crab, octopus, cuttlefish, and parrotfish. As I was diving with my friends that night, we swam into a whole bunch of box jellyfish. I had a short-sleeve vest on. My friends had full wetsuits on, so they were protected from the jellyfish. Unfortunately for me, I started getting hit on the forearm. To cut a very long story short, I was hit 5 times. The toxin was so powerful that it caused my arm to swell up like a balloon, and the tentacles caused my skin to blister. As I saw my arm blister, the fisherman told me that one of these would kill me, that I must get to the nearest hospital, that I should urinate on my forearm. If someone tells you to pee on your arm, you know it has to be serious, you mate. I was a lifeguard. I was a surfer and a diver, and I knew that vinegar. I knew that up in northern Queensland they used to use vinegar as like a bush medicine. And so I was told by these men one would kill me. They hauled me into the boat, dragged the boat over the reef, and by the time they got me to shore, the young boy tried to get me out of the boat. 2 of the divers stayed on the reef, unfortunately. They'd panicked and made a mistake. They should have come with me. We left the 2 divers. The young boy took me to shore. I tried to get out of the fishing boat, took 1 step forward and collapsed. This particular toxin, can I have the next photograph, of the box jellyfish is so powerful that it's a neurotoxin. It attacks your neurological system. My entire body fell to the bottom of the boat. The young boy somehow dragged me out of the boat, up the beach towards the main road. He then panicked. He knew that one of his brothers was out there and he was afraid they'd be killed. I said, "No, ambulance, gendarme, telephone." Sound of French. And I said, "They have full wetsuits, they're safe." I'm the only one that's been stung. They can swim through the lagoon. The young boy panicked, ran down to the fishing boat and began poling through the lagoon, leaving me half dead on the beach. As this poison quickly worked into me, I did not know that the box jellyfish can kill within 10 or 15 minutes. I felt incredibly tired and began to shut my eyes. As I began to close my eyes, slipping into what would have been certain death, I heard the audible voice of a man to my right speak to me. He said, "Son, if you close your eyes, you will never awake again." I went, "What? Who said that?" As I looked towards the voice where it came from, there was no one there. I turned around and thought, where did he go? I realized there was no one there, but I just heard a man tell me that if I close my eyes, I will never awake again. I had no idea at the time that it was the audible voice of God. I was a complete non-Christian. I didn't believe that God existed, let alone could speak to mankind. But I found out later as a Christian that Jesus taught that my sheep hear my voice. How many people have heard the voice of God? I mean, change you. But see, I was a black sheep. I had no belief in him, which shows me the love of God, that he would speak to a complete non-believer. So if you have someone who doesn't believe in God, believes they've heard this audible voice, you might be shocked it could have been God speaking to them. Because Jesus goes looking for the lost sheep. He goes looking for those who don't know him. He wants to save every man, every woman, and every child. I lay there, I heard the voice, I realized the voice was true, that if I closed my eyes I would certainly die. That this was a coma, this was not sleep, this was certain death. I stood up, I began hobbling down the road, putting my weight onto my left leg. My right leg was paralyzed, I used it as a crutch. I found 3 Indian taxi drivers. As I found them, these men saw me staggering towards them and thought I was drunk. I said, "I'm not drunk, I've been stung by 5 box jellyfish. Can you please help me?" These Indian men said, "Well, how much money will you pay us?" I thought, what? I said, "I'm dying. $50, $100 US. The men looked at me and one of them put his hand and said, let me see your money, white man. I take you to the hospital. Let me see your money." I said, "Well, I don't have the money on me." As I said that, all 3 of them walked away laughing. I said, "But I have money. Please help me. I'm dying." Continuing to walk, I heard this clear voice speak to me again. It said, "Son, are you willing to beg for your life?" I thought, beg for your life? That's a brilliant idea. I hadn't thought of that. I'm sure these Indians have not seen a white man beg in this part of the world. I've got nothing to lose. My left leg's nearly stuffed anyhow. So I fell down in front of them. As I dropped in front of them, I grabbed my right hand, which was paralyzed. I bowed my head and began pleading for my life. As I'm begging for my life, I watched 2 of the men walk away. But one of the men stops. I said, "I will die. If you do not help me, I will surely die in front of you." There was an incredible silence, and this man without a word walked towards me. I could see his feet coming. He helped me out up to my feet and put me into his taxi. I thanked him as we began racing towards the hospital. As I sat there, he turned to me and he asked me what hotel I stayed in. He wanted a room number because if I lived, he wanted to know how he was going to get paid. I thought, what? I said, "I don't stay in a hotel. I live with a fisherman in a bungalow in Tamarin Bay." He said, "You stay in the hotel there?" And I said, "No." He said, "You lied to me. How you pay me? You tourist." I said, "I'm a traveller. I'm a surfer." He said, "I take you to the Tamarin Bay Hotel. They look after you. I'll not take you any further." He pulled in front of this hotel and told me to get out. I tried to get out because he was so angry, and the poison now moved into my left leg. I could feel nothing from my waist down. I said, "My legs are gone. I can't walk." He took my safety belt off, opened the passenger door, and pushed me straight out of his cab. As I flew to the ground, I looked up to see him leaning over, picking my feet up, which were caught in the door sill, throwing them on the ground, shutting the door and driving off. I thought, what kind of man would do that? I thought, this world is sick, it's evil. Oh, that if it's my number, if it's time for me to die, you should do yourself a favor in and die here. I lay there on the ground dying. As I'm lying there, if we can have the next photograph, I looked up, and here, walking towards me with his torchlight shining on my body, was a Creole friend, Danielle, a fisherman from the village. He went, "Kisafir Ian, what happened to you tonight, brother? I never see you like that. What you do?" You ever crawl around the car park of a hotel on a Friday night? Is this Australia? Perhaps I'm in another country. Only happens in New Zealand, of course. So anyhow, I'm on the deck, and he had seen this taxi come.